Today it's time for the grand finals of the Wardi Team League. Now, of course, that means that we're not just gonna have a look at a Zerg versus Terran in this case, because there will be Protoss players part of the tournament too. As in the upper left though, in game number 1, playing right here with the blue Zerg pieces, representing Team Basilisk, we have none other than Serral. His opponent, down in the bottom right, in his first game of a best of 9, playing with the red Terran pieces, we have Percival. So, this is Team Basilisk taking on the Villains of StarCraft 2. That's their name. That's their team name. The Villains of StarCraft 2, it consists of Percival, of course, then Solar and MaxPax. Whereas for Basilisk, we have Serral, Goblin, Reynor, and then Trigger. Goblin, not officially a Basilisk player, but he's been joining them in a team league for some time, and it's good to see him back again too. Now, what's really nice about the team league format is that not only are we going to get different players in the games, but we're also going to have a look at 2 versus 2 as well. I think it's actually game number 3 and game number 5 that are always a 2v2. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on that, but it's something along those lines. But we're starting off with a couple of best of 1s, and then we will definitely be moving forward to at least a single best of 2. It all depends, though, on the score, because the first team to win 5 maps will be the victor. We're starting off on 10,000 feet. Serral, of course, an absolute monster. It's been a little bit since I've last seen him play. As you probably know, he doesn't really participate in a ton of tournaments. So, yeah, sadly, I can't really look at his games every week. There's usually a, maybe like a series a month or so, and every once in a while, there's a bunch of big tournaments lined up all at the same time. I'm pretty sure if you were to ask him individually, like, do you want to play in this $5,000 tournament? He'd be like, whatever. I'd rather not, to be honest. But since this is a team league format, I guess he's been forced. Very nice. You love to see it. Now, it's just one of those things where I guess there's a lot of benefits as well, right? To just keeping your strategies hidden. Okay, nice little bit of movement here from Percival. It's really good to keep your strategies hidden and to not really show your games all too often. There's players out there, though, that really don't mind. The likes of Clem, the likes of Hero, the likes of Bjorn. Very successful tournament players in their own rights. But Serral, he's never really played in a ton of tournaments, and whenever he does, the odds of him winning are like 80%. I'm actually not entirely sure. I'm making that number up. But seriously, whenever Serral enters a tournament, the odds of him winning are very, very significant. Percival is a player that's been impressing me a ton lately. He's been improving a lot. I've highlighted this a few times already, but this man is an absolute beast now. Maybe not quite at the level of somebody like Serral, maybe not quite like a top 5 Terran, but he's getting dangerously close. Certainly the most improved Terran player from Korea over the last few years, and right now certainly capable of taking games off of the absolute best in the game. So we'll find out, man. Like, Serral is always going to be an uphill battle, as we did apparently have a Marine and an SCV dying here to a cheeky little Zergling push. Serral is always going to be an uphill battle. But Percival, certainly, at least compared to like a year ago, I don't think you can really certainly just write him off right from the get-go. I mean, that'd be kind of rude, but the stats just simply do not lie. Let's see. Queens are positioned properly. Hellions here together with that Reaper are not going to be able to get the drive-by done. It's going to be a triple command center 1-1-1 opener here for Percival, who's going to be switching on over here in a moment, I'm sure, with that starport, so he can begin the double production as well out of that thing, or he could add on an extra barracks too. It kind of depends. Yeah, he's decided to go for an extra Rex here. Fair enough. Serral playing a very Serral-esque style. Maybe we've been seeing all of these fancy plays from the Korean Zergs, right, where they only, well, pull a single drone out of gas and they go really quick lair, and then they have a lot of options available with roach attacks or muta openers or nidus play or whatever. Serral is going for the very classic approach here, where he's basically just defending whatever the Terran is throwing at him, and the goal is to try and outgrow the Terran over time. You gotta be real careful here as Percival. He did get an Overlord kill just now. That must have been the scouting Overlord, but there's a lot of drone production here underway for Serral already. And it's very easy for Terran to just be destroyed in the long run. When you play this style, you do want to deal at least a little bit of damage. Triple command center is nice, but when Zerg is greedy enough, it's just so difficult to beat them. The drone production is already getting out of hand. 4th hatchery here in the upper right-hand corner coming up. Serral quick on the double Evo chambers. So look at this, man. It's like the polar opposite of what the Koreans are doing now. It's double upgrades for the Zerg before a lair. The Korean Zergs are going fastest possible lair, sometimes even before Ling speed. But this is Serral just going for the most classical approach possible. Gets a free Viking over here on the left. It's double upgrades before a lair. This does mean that Baneling speed will be late. We will have to see the lair start up right about right now, and then pretty much immediately a Baneling nest. Yeah, there it is. So he can start up Baneling speed by the time that the Baneling nest is done. You can obviously kind of make up, though, for the lack of Baneling speed against the first big Terran mid-game push by just having a stupid amount of creep. So we have multiple groups of queens already hiding on the left and on the right, defending against the Hellions, but then also simultaneously spreading that creep forward, really protecting this hatchery over here in the upper right too. I wonder if Serral's gonna drop some creep over here, man. It almost looks like it, right? Trying to keep the tentacle rocks alive. It would actually benefit him quite nicely, keeping that base in the upper right-hand corner protected for a little while longer. Okay, so Serral's already at 72 drones versus 48 SCVs. My god. First of all, we need to go. Lucky for us, he's going. But if he doesn't, Zerg is just gonna outgrow him so fast. Serral's like an octopus on the keyboard, man. He's got like 8 arms going at it. It is extremely difficult to snipe a Zerg like this later on in the game. So he needs to get damage done right here. Problem is, though, the creep is already so tremendous. What do you even do? Well, I think the most obvious line of attack here is the right. This is the one angle where Terran might still be able to get some work done. 5th hatchery already coming up as well on the left. Percival. Okay. He doesn't see it. Not quite yet. He's preoccupied here with the Zerglings on the other side. Scan over here would be nice, but we're only on triple orbital, of course, at this stage in the game. So he doesn't have a ton of energy available. Most of the energy will still be going to the mules. Actually, at this point, he doesn't even have any mules mining. He's been scanning quite liberally as it is. Now Baneling speed is on the horizon, and because of it, we have Banelings getting morphed in. Serral's economy is through the roof. He decides to go for a big counterattack. As Terran is committing, though, to his natural expansion. Okay, he actually reconsiders this push, and he decides to go back home. No reason to take any risks. He's waiting for Bane's speed, though. It's still like 20 seconds off. Banelings coming in back. This is beautiful for Percival. Actually getting these units sniped here is big. Serral forced to cancel. He's still pushing forward over here too. Queen's taking a lot of damage. Now Baneling speed though, centrifugal hooks is done. One of the siege tanks falls. Serral is kind of struggling here. Maybe we need to see another evolution chamber transfusion, but apparently this is when the finisher pulls the trigger. The world champion of StarCraft wants to clean all of this up. Banelings trying to get a desperate wrap around those Marines. For now, though, the micro here from Percival is good, man. And look at the supply count. All of a sudden, Serral here is taking an absolute nosedive. More Banelings, though, were made. Do we have enough to really clean this up? Again, the splits are beautiful. The splits are excellent. Percival, go. Wait, did he just... Oh, God. Did he just do it? Siege tanks retarget. Nice retargeting right there with the siege tank. And you know what? I've been saying it for a while. Do not underestimate Percival. He's a bit of a monster. Okay. And apparently, with that win, Percival gets to stick around for another game. This time around, though, he's going up against the Basilisk Protoss known as Trigger. Man, Serral played, and that's the thing, right? I mean, I feel like every Zerg player has been in a game like that before, where you feel like everything's just going so well. You feel like the game is on rails and everything is just progressing so smoothly. And then the Terran player shows up and you die. Like, how many of us have lost games with 30 more workers than the opponent? Yeah, then the Terran comes across the map and you just sort of die. Yeah, it's unlucky. But hey, it's nice to see that it also happens apparently from time to time against Serral. I mean, really though, props to Percival's micro there. He was incredibly all in. There really wasn't a whole lot he could have come back home to. But sniping those Banelings that Serral wanted to surround with in the middle of the map proved to be absolutely critical. All the right decision making right there at the end. Okay, White Rabbit it is. Let's see. What can we do? Percival, apparently one of the villains of StarCraft. It's so funny because obviously the pro gamers are asked. to create their own team. So MaxPax, Percival, and Solar. I don't know which of them three came up with the name Villains of StarCraft, but do you really think, when you hear those three names, right, do you really think of them as the Villains of StarCraft? Like, in my mind, that would be something like Idra, Naniwa, and then, I don't know, one more. Avillo. Like, those are the Villains of StarCraft in my mind. Well, apparently, yeah, maybe MaxPax, Percival, and Solar think of themselves as the bad boys of StarCraft, but you know what? Let's not burst our bubbles. Let's keep the dream alive. Either way, so far, at the very least in this tournament, the dream is still alive. Both players, though, scouting each other out. There are, of course, a lot of all-ins that are viable as well here for Terran against Protoss. I'm actually curious to see how Percival currently proceeds in this matchup. Broadly speaking, on the Korean ladder right now, there seem to be two approaches that Terrans do against Protoss. Either they turtle hard and they don't really move out until they're maxed out. So that is the super defensive, I'm gonna take 2 bases, and then at like minute 8, I'll finally land to my 3rd base, and I'm giving Protoss free reign of the map and all the rest of it. Or they pull the boys and go for an all-in. Like, those seem to be the most popular schools of thought right now on the Korean ladder. Trigger, by the way. Ooh, as we have Percival going for a proxy starport here on the left side of the map. Trigger may not be Korean. He's from Canada, if I'm not mistaken, but he is he's been spending a lot of time over in Korea. So I believe he's got his own place there. He's been playing over in Korea for, well, a long time at this point. So he certainly is going to be familiar with the Korean ladder and the way that the games tend to be played over there. Blink opener for him, though. Nothing out of the ordinary whatsoever. The main question is, how many gateways do you produce now before you go into a 3rd Nexus? We already have the 2 Hellions waiting, though. 2 more Hellions drive out onto the map. This did get scouted, and you know what? Maybe more importantly, the Adept actually got into the main base. Hellions are going to be loaded up into their private jets. It'll be a very short trip. Even Taylor Swift is going to be impressed by this plane, right? You ready? Okay. And we're there. All right, let's see. How many workers do we kill? It's time to go and do a little bit of roasting. Ooh, don't line them up, Trigger. Snatches the units back up into the plane yet again as we go down to the low ground. If it wasn't for that Adept going in, I would have really liked the spot quite a lot here. It's still not a bad position, though, for Percival at all. But the main problem that Terrans will struggle with at this point is just proceeding. Like, how do you... Yeah, you may have gotten yourself into a pretty good spot, but, like, how do you move forward right now? Protoss is extremely strong in the mid-game, especially if the medevac goes down. We should probably be targeting it. Yeah, he's mixing the target fire a little bit. Probably wanted to get rid of that medevac. He knew he was going to get it anyways with Blink. Okay, so this at the very least evens the worker count up quite a lot. 11 probes is nice. But right now, Trigger is going to have full map control for quite a long time. Really, not until Stimpak is done can Percival move out onto the map. And Stimpak is not even started. We are a very long while away from Terran being able to grab map control once more. Trigger can do whatever he likes. Now, he's got 3 gateways only. I'm assuming we're going to go into a 3rd base here soon. I love the single blink up to the high ground to tank or to bait out the siege tank shot. Staying out of range here of those siege tanks for the time being. Tank number 3 has only just now been fired up, so yeah, we're just getting a little bit of work done. But ultimately, Trigger producing a lot of probes again and going into the 3rd base here is the correct call. A couple Zealots actually got warped in as well. For the most part, Percival will be unbreakable here. I like that he actually kept a couple of Marines and Marauders here around to save the siege tank. I like the repair as well onto the tank. Zealots trying their absolute best, but they're not going to be able to achieve their goal. Nice defense, though, here. Yet again by Percival, man. Like, seriously, this is some very narrow micro. I was questioning the second bunker for just a little bit, but it turns out with the double Hellion opener, or the Hellion drop rather, it's the correct play. Yeah. But, and this is where Terran players really are a little salty right now. I mean, Terran players, they tend to be a little salty anyways, but look, some people get upset when I say such things, but if you've been casually observing the StarCraft community from a distance, Terran, Zerg, Protoss, everybody gets salty from time to time, but I feel like Terrans especially, they take it one step further, you know? They really do enjoy being on the back foot a little bit. And I do think it's true, though. Like, at this point in the current meta, Terran really is on the back foot at this stage in this matchup. I think we'll probably see some solutions in the next balance patch of SC2 because Terran really does need a little bit of love at this point. We are going to see a move out now. Stimpec is done, but it's so sketchy. You never really know where that prism is located. You never really know whether or not the stalkers are going to go back in. We need to blink. We need to blink. We need to blink. Oh, wow. Big misplay there. In the meantime, the medevac gets, or the prism rather, gets pushed away as well. That's a lot of stalkers dying there for no apparent reason at all. Look at Percival getting the surround here as well. He was hoping to get the concussive shells, I'm sure. Actually, he doesn't have the research done yet, but he would have liked to slow down those stalkers and clean up the entire squad. Third command center fired up now. Colossus is going to be joining the battlefield in just a moment. But I agree, man. This game has been going so well for Percival that I think moving out and actually committing to a real attack is the right play. Is there enough for Trigger to clean this up? It is an extremely zealot-heavy army. Okay. He's hoping to get a free shot off with the 4 siege tanks at the same time. Combat shields is now done. Big power spike, of course. Viking production has kicked in. Ooh, supply block here for Percival. Supply block here for Percival. He decides to cancel all of the production, basically, for just a moment. And this is painful. Man, we survived the hard part in the game, and we did so brilliantly, only to hit the biggest possible supply block the Terrans can ever have. No such mistakes here on the side of Trigger, who's thinking about going into, indeed, a 4th Nexus. Matter of fact, drop though, almost like a bit of a doom drop here into the main. This slowed down the Viking production in particular, which is rough. You really do want to keep on top of the Viking production against this type of army. Those Colossi, the Prism, all of it needs to be destroyed. Looks like there was a little bit of a lag spike right now, too. That's actually pretty bad. Ready? 2? 3, 2, 1. All right, I guess one of the observers, Pomi here, probably lagged out. A little bit of old school server architecture in StarCraft where observers in the game can actually lag the game. Possibly the worst timing there. But still, Percival is alive. Didn't lose too many units. Okay. The main problem here for Trigger is that he didn't really commit to a ton of workers yet. He's got a good number of, tech structures. He's got a decent bit of production. But I would have much rather liked to see like a 7 here at the start of the worker count. 57 here is just not really what you're looking for. Terran can just outscale you pretty hard now. Yeah. 15 probes here in total is actually quite significant. Viking numbers are steadily climbing. We're only on a single starport, but the single starport is trying its absolute best. And as long as the medevacs can be produced here eventually, I mean, there's 4 of them available right now, it should be okay. When we got up to like 10 or so Vikings, 12 Vikings, then the Colossus numbers can be reduced really rapidly. And this type of army without Colossus, I mean, it's just not that impressive. Oh, siege tanks up on the high ground. Careful here. Ooh. Dude, Trigger actually kind of just wandering around the map like he owns the place. Not really respecting it, clearly. Ghost Academy right now in the back as well. The Zealot push over here is nice, though. Good warp in as well. The rest of the Protoss army is moving in around the site. Again, though, Zealot's not really split. Is there enough for Protoss to just break through? Man, oh, army hotkey here from Trigger. Prism in the main base ended up going down, but there is still a very substantial number here available for Protoss. We do have a nice little counterattack as well with Marines, but so many SCVs are dying. And I've got a feeling that these SCVs are not going to be able to go home as well. Nope. We're roasting all of them. Now the Vikings from the main base have decided to turn their guns to the Colossi eventually. You blink twice, and that is 39 SCVs going down. In this particular instance, quite literally, you blink twice, and the bases just get emptied out. Fourth Nexus did get restarted here. And I think this is still more than okay for Trigger in the end. It was messy, it was bloody. But a couple of small errors right there on the side of Percival. Like, for example, that big supply block we saw really did cost him dearly. By no means a clean game either from Trigger, though. He'll probably be rather upset, actually, with the way that this has been going. Again, mispositioning here with the army. That's one of the things that Trigger usually is very good at. His micro is actually superb, but in this particular game, not really the case. We also saw those, like, 5 or 6 Stalkers dying here for free when he was busy microing his Zealots, but that was in the early game, man. Like, that's not the stage in which we generally see a lot of Stalkers just die for no apparent reason. Either way, this is a Protoss army that will be difficult to beat. Where do we go from here now? Well, apparently we blink forward. He's targeting down the Vikings. There's only a single one remaining. Oh, actually, there's 2 of them remaining. That's going to take forever to kill the triple Colossus with. Make it 2. New Prism is available now. Stalker Warpin would probably be good. Yep. The resources just line up so beautifully for that. That's another good targeting right there. Nice splitty against the Widow Mine. GG gets called, and that means that Basilisk gets a point on the board. Okay, and that brings us to a map called Undercurrent, where in the upper right-hand corner, in this 2 versus 2, we first off have Trigger, and then none other than Serral is going to be his teammate. Down in the bottom left, first off we have Percival, and his ally is MaxPax. 2 really strong teams. MaxPax and Percival, Serral and Trigger. Honestly, a difficult one to predict. I have no clue. Oh, apparently we're pinging. Yeah, that is actually something to consider. I am not entirely sure how strong Percival's English is. I am very certain, though, that MaxPax's Korean is probably awful. So communication, it's probably advantageous right here for Team Blue. They're pinging, though, so I guess they're talking about something in voice chat. Communication is a part of this matchup or of this game mode that is oftentimes lost on StarCraft players. Being able to express what you want to do is actually not that easy. After all the years of playing 1v1. Okay. So Trigger taking the back base. Serral expanding forward. Okay. Apparently we're just picking every structure that we see here. Fair enough. That is, by the way, I think Percival doing all of the pinging. He's like, gateway! Gateway! I don't think MaxPax needs to know every single detail here. He probably expects that there's a gateway out there. Likewise here, MaxPax, also the Protoss player, of course, in this particular team, taking the back base. Command center in the meantime on the low ground right here for Percival. Okay. Overlord number 1 for Serral is going to arrive in just a moment. He's got a second one as well on the back of this in a very similar path. A little bit more towards the left. Serral will see the expo now. Instant rerouting. He wants to know whether or not the other forward expansion is taken. But of course there is there's a back base on this map. What do we call this? A back base? I've been calling it the back base. The base in the back. The back base. The backdoor expansion. Well, the back base. I think back base is nice. Yeah, I'm going to stick with back base. You may disagree. Anyways, there is an easy to take base over here in the back, so it makes sense to have one of the players get it. Serral here. Forced to join his ally because there's no adept out just yet. There's no stalker. Actually, there is an adept. Oh, it's MaxPax is adept. My bad. Trigger has been a pretty greedy player, apparently, man. Yeah, just not really aiming for any form of base defense for now. Really slowing down the production inside of that gateway. Now we have the adept here of Max joining at the front lines together with the Reapers. And this is the type of aggression that can very quickly spiral out of control I mean, of course, these units will be countered eventually, but Team Red is already getting some work done. Yeah, it's messy. The Reapers were never really meant to live for that long, and I got some nice snipes. Adept in the meantime, didn't really get any confirmed kills. Well, now it's gonna get an Adept for its troubles. And this is good, man. Like 3 probes and 2 drones. Couple Zerglings as well for 2 Reapers. I think he can hardly be upset about that. Percival, yet again, doing an excellent job. Stargate open here for both players. This is, of course, the key unit in 2v2. Phoenixes really shine in team games. They are not that strong in 1v1, at least comparative to the other Stargate troops, but in 2v2 they can be really powerful. And MaxPax, yeah, he's going to be busted here. This is a problem. You're not going to be able to keep that Oracle around if you just, don't recall it. So he is going to send it home, but what are the odds of the Oracle actually being a useful unit here in the rest of this game? He decides to activate the Pulsar Beam to the nice Serral Scout, but that was a really nice moment for Team Blue. Serral now also taking the alternative natural, by the way, so he's taking both of the nets right over here on the low ground. That means that Trigger's next expo is going to be, I guess, the gold? Maybe the one over here on the right? A little bit messy. It's actually one of the big downsides when you do have a Zerg ally in 2v2. You just can't build on creep. So you just kind of end up in this weird position as a Zerg where you don't really want to spread creep. But then likewise, you kind of have to. But if you don't, if you do, you might accidentally end up blocking your ally. It's a bit frustrating. Anyhow, Phoenix production here will be kicked up to the absolute max. Trigger is going to be dumping all of his resources into Phoenix production. Since we already saw MaxPax making a Stargate unit, right? We saw that Oracle. He's going to be behind in Phoenix production regardless. And he decides to just not even really go in that direction at all. He's going into Blink Stalkers instead, meaning that Trigger is going to have full map control, at least in the air. It is a bit of a finicky build, though. Phoenixes are, of course, spellcasters. Graviton Lift does cost energy. It's very easy to forget as a Protoss player. But I'm already liking this position here for Team Basilisk a little bit more. It all comes down, though, to the first big engagement, because you cannot be lifting up Marines. That's the thing. I really do like this here for Team Red. They're focusing on small units, right? Siege tanks would just get lifted. Immortals would just be lifted. All of the big units would just get lifted. This is the type of army that Phoenixes kind of suck against. Now, until you have enough Phoenixes. So this is an important defense. Revelation right there on the Oracle is nice. I'm guessing we're going to be lifting up Stalkers. Serral's going Roach Ravager here. Okay, this is apparently the moment. Ooh, where we do decide to commit. Is this the right call here? For Serral and for Trigger? Nice movement here in the end, but the amount of army still left over on the ground is huge. Serral effectively forced to now fight this army single-handedly because the Phoenixes are out of energy. Still, though, he's doing a really nice job. Keep in mind the Phoenixes will be popping more. We did see a couple of them die. Actually, 7 of them die. That's decent. That really does reset the count very nicely. Looks like the Stalker Blink back here to keep that Oracle alive is also quite good. We have the Medevac taking a lot of damage, but Serral really the MVP in that fight. Third base on the right side did get spotted. This is a big snipe here yet again. Team Red doesn't have that many bases available. Yeah, and there's just not quite enough here for them to really break through. So we now have 5 bases in total for Team Blue versus just about 5, maybe 4.5 bases right here for Team Red. I think getting the Phoenix kills there was really quite nice. Like, this is the number that we expect to see go up as the game progresses. At some point, Trigger could make the switch over to, like, carriers. That would be really sweet. But we're not quite there yet. This is the problem, though, against these openers, man. Like, when you go Phoenixes, they can just swoop into a mineral line, kill half of it, and be okay. I think keeping the pressure up is big. Serral going in for a Zergling run by here. There is a single photon cannon, based on the left, though. Yeah, there's a bit of protection there, too. I like the warpins. The warpins there are good, but I think there might still be enough for Serral to really get damage done. In the meantime, the army in red here for Percival Okay, it's a bit disjointed. We have the Stalkers also for MaxPax moving along the lane here to the left. Phoenixes are being picked off already individually. There's a lot of Roach Ravager now out too. Dark Shrine, by the way, here made as well for Max, who can start being a little bit sneaky. In general, cloaked units don't seem to be as powerful in team games, just because there's just more detection out, at least in theory. Good micro here by Max. Marines trying to see if they can blow up some of the mineral line here of Trigger. Stalkers have wedged themselves into a really good position. Again, the Phoenixes go through. This is actually kind of nice, though. Being able to lift up the Phoenixes, or with the Phoenixes, and then raining Biles with the Ravagers is a cool combo. But this is now MaxPax single-handedly fighting a lot of his army. In the meantime, Percival has killed the Nexus over here on the right. And while I don't think his army is going home at this rate, this has been a very successful sequence of events for Team Red, because they just have such a big economy now on the back of this. The Stalkers are the fastest unit here. I mean, there's a bunch of Zerglings out, but they're easily sniped. And with those Stalkers just buying time and going back home, I think Team Red is pretty stable. And they now have so many bases. Their economy is growing rapidly, whereas Team Basilisk has been reduced yet again to just 4 mining bases. Or 5 mining bases, I guess, with the corner expansion too. Actually, we saw the same earlier here too. I apparently can't count. Counting is not apparently why I'm hired to do this job. Actually, fun fact, nobody hired me. Nah, I'm just doing it, man. I just started doing it one day. Nobody asked me to. But apparently there's people watching now. Shout out to you. Thank you for watching. I ran out of fingers, okay? I have only 4 on my left hand, apparently. Wait, how many do I don't know. Maybe I've got 5. All right, Marines going in here together with the Stalkers. Siege tanks do get biled down. In the meantime, there is a little bit of a Zergling counterattack. Serral trying his absolute best to even the worker counts just a little bit. But Percival and MaxPax are relentless. Still, though, the Ravager count is high. The Phoenix numbers are also big. Man, this may be the most aggressive 2v2 game I've ever seen. It's such an even game, right? Like, it's kind of crazy what happens when you have really good players playing 2v2 regularly for like a year. Like, the level has gone up so much. The Phoenix is now out of energy, though. And this is kind of when you want to keep pushing here as Team Red. I do really like this, by the way. The Ghost joining in with EMP. Phoenixes tend to clump up. Like 1 EMP and they're practically a useless unit for like a minute. That could be the most important unit in this entire game, actually. 1 EMP. And those Phoenixes are just about useless. Bylon in the middle of the map. New command center being acquired here. Orbital command as well here from Percival. It's so tempting to go planetary, but nah, we don't need it. Not in this instance. EMP, EMP, EMP! Oh god, the Ghost is running. Couldn't quite reach it. Still does get it. Oh, he still does get it. There's a couple of Phoenixes that weren't hit by it, but right now, Serral has to effectively deal with this massive army in red just by himself, and he is not gonna cut it. That EMP was massive. The Villains of StarCraft get a 2nd point on the board. Next up, game number 4. It's time for another 1 versus 1 as we go to Winter Madness. We're in the upper left, playing in red. We have none other than MaxPax. And down in the bottom right, you really would expect Reynor to come out. But this is not Reynor. This is Serral, yet again. Okay, let's see. This is actually a really potent match. MaxPax is either like the best or the 2nd best Protoss player on the planet. Statistically speaking, he was the highest ranked Protoss for a really long time now. Very recently, Hero has taken that spot, and obviously as far as tournament winnings go over the last couple years, Hero has just been an absolute beast as well. But MaxPax is amongst the very best on the planet, and Serral is Serral. Like, this is a matchup that really is quite special. A lot of the tournaments, by the way, that Serral like historically has signed up for, like he does play quite a few online cups too, but this is a matchup that, I mean, is kind of rare, I suppose, in the sense that MaxPax never plays offline and Serral prefers playing offline. We actually don't really have that many games of them going up against one another, at least none that come to mind to me. If you compare it to like a Serral versus Clem or a Serral versus Reynor, any of the other top dogs in Europe, I mean, this is a matchup that is not one where we really see all too often. So nice to see it come out right here with the Team League. Winter Madness, also a pretty standard map. So I am ready. I am ready for an hour-long slugfest where the entire map is mined out. It comes down to the final resources, and we are all just gonna absolutely lose it. That's what I'm ready for. It's probably not what we're gonna get, but it's what I'm ready for. But it's probably not what we're gonna get. But it is what I'm ready for. Stargate opener here. Third hatchery in a moment, I would imagine, here for Serral. Although he's prioritizing the queens for now, of course. And we'll be droning up for a little bit longer. Couple safety Zerglings. Fair enough. Yep, there's the drone heading on over to the right side of the map. Serral getting caught off guard against that Percival all-in earlier, though. It's not really something we see all too often. Just shows you how fragile the early game in any matchup really truly is. Maybe that was the mid game, right? It's a little difficult to say, but it's like the first major attack in that particular game. Serral makes a couple mistakes, maybe got a little overly greedy. Immediately gets punished for it and has to leave. I'm assuming MaxPax is going to be playing a Twilight Council on the back of this into Blink. It just makes the most sense. Link speed is moments away from finishing. No way Max is going to commit here. Because those adepts would be dead. And then suddenly it's difficult to take a third. Could be a big scout, actually. Ooh, I think sniping the probe here is real nice. Not going to happen. 340, it seems. On the third Nexus. Pylon on the back of this as well. So this is all off of just a single gate. Small little corner cut right there for MaxPax. But with this opener, his Nexus was actually about 10 seconds late. You really do want to be building that one at about like 330 to like 335. Not a huge difference. But the delay does indicate that something was probably slightly messed up. And that Zergling obviously also cost for at least a few seconds. A lot of drones here available. Oracle being used to just snipe whatever it can. Looks like probably a Spore Crawler got cancelled. That'll be the end for the Adepts. Maybe? Nah, still dead. It's gonna at the very least give the Oracle some additional snipes. Some additional kills. Overlord already in the main base. Just observing how all of those structures are being built. Extra gateways over here, though. The Twilight Council is actually hidden in the natural. Did Serral see it? He did not. He's looking for any structures that might be hiding out here. But that now means that the Zerg is in the dark. Although, to be fair, everything here indicates Twilight Council. And even though he hasn't seen the Twilight Council, it's a pretty safe bet. And even when you do see the Twilight Council, you never really know what you're playing against. Because Blink, Charge, Glaive the Depths, all the rest of it, it has to be addressed differently. So Serral is making the assumption that I made earlier that this is very likely going to be Blink Stalkers, but that's not the case. This is Resonating Glaives for Adepts. Oracles, in the meantime, getting a good bit of damage done too, by the way. Yeah, 4 drones is nothing amazing, but they have been sniping some of them. Usually at this stage in the game, it's quite difficult for Protoss to really even find like a crack in the armor of the Zerg. +1 melee is going to be really nice. But it's usually not the preferred choice against Adepts. We should have at least 4 gates. Oh, we got 5. Okay. 5 gateways is quite significant. So Resonating Glaives is just straight up attack speed for these ladies. There's, of course, no Warp Prism, no Proxy Pylon, no Proxy Gateway, or anything like it. So the units that are made are all gonna have to be sent across the map like so. Serral doesn't know, though. Serral doesn't see. The Zergling Scout that was meant to see this, the spotter unit, just got sniped. And this will be the first time that the world champion notices that there's an army on its way. He's now making Zerglings, but they will have +1 melee. And this is big. Like, just getting the +1 melee done, it really does indicate a very significant power spike for the Lings. It all comes down really to the fight, though, in the surface area. If the Adepts can be wedged in between the mineral fields, that would be a big difference. Okay, he decides to cancel it. Stasis Ward right now over here. The longer that this goes on for, though, the better it's going to be for the Zerg. Mostly because there's no Prism. Are we gonna commit? No, we can't. Not really a whole lot of damage dealt here by the Danish Protoss just yet. There's also this awkward moment as a Protoss where you really don't want to have Adepts in the mid game anymore. Like, you kind of need to trade them out, but you do really want to get eco damage. But if you trade them out too early, then the Zerg counterattack is going to be nuts. But if you trade them out too late, the Adepts are kind of useless. Do we commit now? Yeah, we do commit now. Okay, decent fight. Decent enough fight, but I don't really love it. Now, Serral's just going to clean this up, and maybe a handful of workers will fall, but not nearly as many as MaxPax was hoping for. One of the Adepts survives the Shade Buy. Oracle's, in the meantime, still trying to be a nuisance. But that was a very well managed right there by StarCraft. Or by StarCraft, by I was already thinking of the next sentence I was going to say. By Mr. StarCraft. Also known as Serral. Although, you know, if anybody would be bestowed upon the title of StarCraft. I will now bestow the title of gamer to Serral. Yeah, some might even say he's a StarCraft gamer. John StarCraft himself. There he is. All right, Hydra counterattack. Okay. You know, when you look at a glance, the word Serral and StarCraft have a lot in common, okay? Did you know you can type the word StarCraft with just your left hand if you're typing on a keyboard? It's really nice. As somebody who types the word StarCraft an ungodly amount, I don't think Blizzard really intended this, but the fact that I can do it with exclusively my left hand is really nice. Oh yeah, it's a nice, like a, it's a perfect little sequence on the keyboard. I like it. Anyways, Hydra then is indeed being used quite aggressively now, as Serral is pumping out as many of those as he can. +2 coming up for Protoss. We've got ourselves the Storm Research, about 40% of the way done. MaxPax surviving a counterattack there, despite the fact that the Adepts didn't really do too much. Zealot run by here as well on the right. Oh, bit of an overshot right there on the Zerking movement, but these Zealots are not going to achieve much. Oh, as Serral decides to go for a little bit of a drop party. We're going to load up the hot air balloons and go on a little adventure. Not the most convenient way of public transport, I guess, but it can be quite nice. There's actually nothing currently loaded up in the units. As Serral sees an opportunity over here. Storm is now done. Good timing on that here, actually, for Max, because these units need to be respected. Serral's picking them off, though, one at a time. Good splitties here as well in the Hydras, although they are kind of dancing into Storms a little bit more than you would like to see. In the meantime, Zealot run by over here. We have the Prism being used inside of the Natural Expansion too. Suddenly, the entire minimap is lighting up as players here are trying their best to out-multitask the opponent. I think Serral, though, is getting a much better trade here. Queens have been pulled to the front line. Zealots now have arrived over on the creep, but the 4th Nexus is going to die for sure. Still, though, there's a lot of drones that will likely fall here too. New Zealot warping in the Natural Expansion. We have the reinforcing Protoss units now cleaning up the Hydras. And while the creep spread was close by, it's not close enough. Nope, that's many of the units dying here as well on their way out. There's a lot of chaos all of a sudden, man. The Dropper-Lords have been completely forgotten about. So many drones fall here. And what started off as a really nice engagement for Serral turns out to be a disaster. That's Serral going down in the 2nd game of this best of 9. And that apparently means that MaxPax gets to stick around for another game. His next Zerg victim is the Italian, who goes by the name of Reynor. Okay. What do we do? What do we do differently this time? Yeah, MaxPax is really good at, like, there's a lot of people on the internet that make fun of Protoss in particular, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen that over the years in the StarCraft community where people are like, Protoss, just the F2A move, haha. Right? There are certainly certain army compositions that are easier to control than others, and you could make the same argument for many of the Terran and Zerg armies too. MaxPax is really good, though, at, like, making the right decisions. And it sounds so easy, but for example, that commitment with the Adepts, it's really delicate. You have to decide to, like, trade out the Adepts for something if you can't get drone kills. Because if you don't, you're just in a terrible mid game because the Adepts just soak up supply and they get absolutely destroyed later on in the game. It's tempting to just sort of salvage them, but then you just end up getting nothing, and it's tough. There's a lot of those small decisions that you have to make, and technically, it is like a math equation, right? Like technically, if you play enough games and you analyze your losses, you analyze your replays, you can figure out what the correct play is. But there are so many different possible games of StarCraft that you can't really be prepared for every scenario. So MaxPax managing all of that chaos in that previous game so well, it is a very difficult type of win to get. Even though, you know, if you look at it objectively, it's like, well, he sent in a bunch of zealots and he won. Haha. Right? Like, it's really easy to reduce a StarCraft match to just the most basic stuff. But I think MaxPax is a bit of a monster. Serral actually not really helping the team very much, huh? Well, not ideal. Yeah, Serral lost the 2v2 as well, right? Percival and MaxPax got the job done there too, so Serral actually lost 3 games. Wait a second. He lost 3 games and he did not win a single one. Alright, here goes the Oracle. I'm imagining, by the way, they shook Reynor awake. It's like, Reynor, wake up! We need you to play in the team league! He's like, come on, bro, I want to sleep. Why didn't you just win? Why didn't you just win? Reynor here, though, is going to be a necessity. He needs to honestly win this against MaxPax. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a first to 5 maps type of situation, but it's going to be real difficult to win 4 maps in a row. Solar, by the way, we have also not yet seen. No Solar yet in these games. Maybe Solar also just, you know, being allowed to sleep in for a little bit today. Twilight Council together with the Forge right now after the Oracle build. Let's see. What can we do this time? I'm assuming it's not going to be Glaive to Depths again. Oh, it's going to be Charge. All right. Well, you know what? I was all wrong when I said Blink previously. Yeah, both MaxPax and Hero have become big fans of these much more aggressive styles. Gonna have to recall the Oracles. But it's safe enough. Always nice to keep those around for a little bit longer because they provide so much mid-game potential as well. Like, Revelation alone is already worth it quite significantly. Templar Archives right now too, so we end up with like a Archon Zealot army here in the end. What is Reynor going for? Well, we do not yet have a Roach Warren. We do have a Lair coming up though. No Baneling Nest either, so technically all a little bit risky. Imagine Glaive to Depths against this opener here from the Zerg. No +1 melee. Double Evo Chamber here as well. No +1 melee though. Oh, ooh, cheeky. Okay, just walling this off. Nice micro here. 2 drones still. 2 drones actually not terrible. I don't really mind it that much. Where do we take this game, Reynor? Are we gonna go... Are we gonna go Hydras? Is that what we're building up here? Is this a Hydra rush? What is the lair for? Yeah, Hydra is dead. Okay. Still though, this is Zealots now facing off together with Archons against Massling. Like Massling, Zealot Archon? I mean, is this really what we want? Is this really what we want to do? Overseer did now spot the Prism leaving. And of course, Archons, they can eat Zerglings for breakfast. Careful. Woo, okay. Almost wandering into the Lion of Queens there. This is 6 gateways in total, so not an all-in here from Protoss, although I say that. Did not quite notice the additional 4 gateways coming up. MaxPax needs to be a little careful, though. He's committing a little sooner than I think is ideal. The Prism is still around. Okay. It was hiding in the back. Saves the Archons. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Woo. That was actually kind of beautiful there. He did lose a lot of Zealots, though. But 51 Zerglings. Nothing too bad. 10 gateways. 10 gateways. Storm about halfway done. +2 attacks coming up as well. MaxPax is diving pretty deep with the Prism, though. Like, I'm always half on edge that we're going to see the Prism just sort of die. We do not want to see the Prism die. It's too risky. Too risky here. If you lose the Prism with 2 Archons in it, I mean, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but it may as well be GG. Double upgrades here for the Zerg, though, are really sweet. We normally don't see double Evo Chamber at this stage in the game. MaxPax trying to secure another 4th base, actually. So he did make the 10 gateways, but then he's not really committing to the push. Man, this entire game is reminding me a lot of a hero match that I saw just the other day. Yeah. It all feels a little bit disjointed, but then Hero always seems to micro his way into this type of game perfectly. And so far, the micro here from Max has been incredibly sharp. Okay, Dropper Lords yet again. Let's see if Reynor can actually get the mental space, I suppose, to be able to load units into them and actually use them out on the map. Unlike Serral, who was just sort of, having a bunch of empty Dropper Lords. Maybe you should have actually sent them in empty, is what I was thinking in hindsight. Maybe there could have been an overreaction there from MaxPax. But yeah, Zorklings and Hydras are going to go on a little private trip. Is this really the time, though? Big amount of Zorklings ready for the run-by, but right now is apparently when Max is just about ready to strike over at the 4th. Yeah, okay, the Dropper Lord is once more being emptied. Zerglings do get a Zealot over here on the right. Fair enough. Fleet Beacon on the back of this. We have a Robo facility as well. A 2nd Robo, that is. Overlords have been reloaded up again as well. So Reynor is looking at this and he does not agree that this is a real committed push here from MaxPax. I've got a feeling that the base at the 12 o'clock, though, is going to die here momentarily. Although MaxPax sees the drop. That's a big tell. Really nice to be able to see that coming in. I thought he was going to make a beeline for that base all the way up north. Reynor is maxed. Is this the Fleet Beacon? It is. Scan over here. Or, sorry, Storm over here is nice, but not enough really for a secondary Storm. Now suddenly the Zorklings also run into the 3rd base. They're on hold position, so they will just, well, take damage, but also eat up whatever comes within range. Hydras, in the meantime, hitting the front lines. They're going to be microed really nicely, too. And Reynor may be doing here what Serral was unable to do. The Prism is still out on the map and it's getting a little bit of damage done, but it's really not that significant. Triple-pronged aggression here from the Zerg seemed indeed to be the right call. Another Storm over here would be sweet, but there's so much chaos, so much micro required everywhere. That's the main downside here for this type of delicate Protoss army. You can't just try to brute force your way through it all. Probes are indeed dying in large numbers. And while I think eventually MaxPax will stabilize, what would he actually stabilize with? Like, how much is he still going to have available? Nexus here is likely to fall. Incredibly difficult for MaxPax to deal with. It's what Reynor has been cooking up for basically the entire game long. This particular triple attack. And it seems to me that eventually the Protoss reinforcements are going to be able to, keep this base somewhat safe. But Reynor's supply count is just ridiculous. Prism is retreating with its tail between its legs. You hate to see it. Reynor seems to be microing everything perfectly, man. It's actually kind of crazy to see how quickly he's moving out of the storms, even if they're happening in 3 different locations of the map at the same time. Beautiful micro here. It's not so easily done when you're also managing 100 other things. Maybe do a little bit of first-person view here for the Zerg. This is the Zerg right over here. You can see what he's producing as well in the bottom right-hand corner. So the camera is not really moving away from this spot, but he's constantly reselecting his production structures. Queens are going back to a little bit of an inject cycle, fair enough, as he does decide to retreat here, using the all army hotkey to grab the units, get them back home to safety ASAP. MaxPax indeed stabilizes. That was the Hive starting up, though. And with the Hive, we can expect adrenal glands, we can expect Vipers. It just... Okay, let me take control of the camera again, because Reynor is scrolling her crazy. We can expect a lot of upgrades. We could also see a Lurker Den. I wouldn't mind it, but I think at this stage, Reynor is probably pleased with just adrenal glands and 3/3 upgrades alone. The main problem at this point for Max is not so much the eco, although obviously it's not great. It's just the sheer amount of army that he's going up against. Fighting this type of Zerg force on creep, I don't think it's going to happen. Overseer over here. Drop-a-lords in the back yet again. This is, for all intents and purposes, an all-in here from the Protoss. Serral, Reynor here, Mr. StarCraft, decides to evacuate the base altogether. Ultimately, though, we do see a bit of a wraparound here. The storms are real nice. Lurkers are indeed the next step in the Zerg master plan. Prism does not quite slip away. And I think with these Hydras now getting the wraparound and no Protoss units remaining and reinforcing this anymore, we're gonna see the GG from MaxPax as Team Basilisk gets a second point on the scoreboard. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Rohana, where in the upper left, we have Serral dragging his team down, actually, so far in this best of 9. Yeah, this is not really what you want to see, but so far, Serral has not actually won a game yet, even though he's been part of 3 out of the 5 matches. You hate to see it. His ally, this time around, it's not Trigger, it's the Protoss player Goblin. Technically not part of Team Basilisk, but yeah, still one of the highest ranked Protoss players from Europe. Their opponents, we once more have MaxPax. And then below him, another Zerg, or another player we haven't yet seen this time around. It's Solar. Okay. Rohana. Everybody's favorite Protoss grandma from the Legacy of the Void campaign. Ooh, nice. Hexagon Protoss Patrol. Beautiful. I had to come up with the word for patrol there. Hexagon came to me right away. Patrol apparently was one step too far. I had to think about that one for a couple seconds. All right, let's see. What do we do? So it's Protoss Zerg versus Protoss Zerg. Cybercore for MaxPax, of course. His natural did get delayed a little bit. Do we go double gate in this type of situation? Probably not. Nah. I would imagine we're just gonna be... We actually have a pretty quick expo here from Goblin. I just realized that this is indeed a bit funky. And it's because Goblin decided to go Nexus first. Not something you would ever normally do as Protoss. But apparently we're trying to cut some corners. So we do go double gateway because of it. Yeah, I don't recommend Protoss players in general to go Nexus first. It's just incredibly risky. MaxPax has scouted all of this out, though. But is there really something you can do about it? Obviously, in a 1v1 setting, you can try and go across the map. And, well, for one, you're going to have units out, whereas your opponent doesn't. Of course, there's an ally here as well for Goblins, so Serral will have some form of unit production. But secondly, the 2v2 maps are quite a bit bigger than the 1v1 maps. So it just takes a lot longer here, if you want to respond to the Nexus first, to get units across. Triple hatch because of it. Solar decides to be greedy. It makes a lot of sense. Not really a whole lot you can do anymore about the Nexus first, other than try to fight greed with greed. Evo chamber here for Serral. Pretty quick Evo chamber. I hope for Serral's sake, man. Like, he actually, like, it's funky to see that he just, for some reason, has not really contributed to the team victory at all so far. He would be the star player in basically any setup, but, credit where credit is due. The opponents have been strong. +1 missile. Lair is coming, and then we have a Roach Warren as well. So I'm guessing this is going to be a very quick +1 Roach speed type of push. But if we want to have this lined up properly, yeah, it should be okay. The Roach Warren is probably going to be done ever so slightly after the Lair is. Usually you start up the Roach Warren when the Lair is about 1/3 of the way done. Serral a little bit slower on it. But that's okay. Unless they need the Roaches right here, right now. A couple of Banelings already coming up here for Solar. He's making a big round of Zerglings as well at this point. MaxPax trying to sneak a few Adepts around the site. Nice re-walling right here by Goblin. Solar's running in. No link speed here yet for Serral. Yeah, that is making all of this a little bit messy. Serral losing the Queen here and losing a bunch of drones. Banelings, luckily right there for the finisher, going around the wrong way. Man, that Baneling could have done so much if the second Baneling there would have connected with the first immediately. Serral's gonna lose another Queen at this rate. Wait a second, the Zergling run by is actually super annoying here. for the player here in blue to deal with. Goblin trying his best to just keep his own bases alive. He can't really leave the safety of the shield battery. Ultimately, though, the links here get deflected. In the meantime, we have MaxPax going in with an Oracle. It's a disaster. Team Basilisk is actually just getting whooped. 14 probes. I didn't even really highlight it yet. I saw the little orange mark in the mini-map inside of the main base there. MaxPax just casually zapping an entire base to death. Zorklings of Solar there also helping out in the probe destruction. This is not looking good for Team Basilisk at all. The Villains of StarCraft doing a much better job. Okay, we're gonna have to see a second layer, though, in this aggression, right? We're not gonna be able to win the game off of this alone. What is the next step in the master plan of Team Red? Well, we see the recall right here on the Oracle, bringing it back to safety. Twilight Council is finishing up the Blink upgrade right now. +1 attack as well coming up for the ground units. What exactly is Solar going to be aiming for at this point? Because we have the Roachborn here. Okay, he's going +1 here together with Roach Speed. Serral has already finished up Roach Speed, but he never really got a lot of value out of the research. Forced to, yeah, just defend, and then now he's helping out his ally to try and rebuild their economies. Worker count has quickly climbed back up, though. Of course, in 2v2, you can share resources. So maybe Serral did give a little bit of a top-off right there to Goblin's economy. But still, this is just 4 bases for Team Blue. And Team Red has already secured the 5th and the 6th. And I don't believe that this is an army right here of Stalkers and Zealots to really be counterattacking with. Oh, great stasis as well. Ooh. That stasis can actually be like a game ender. Because we're going to see this army in Red right now push through. And then obviously by the time that these units wake up, they can go back and probably snipe them for almost free. Serral and Goblin need to commit, though. They cannot really allow these units to, yeah, just get surrounded. They will indeed commit here. Serral and Goblin try their absolute best to break through this. But now they're fighting into a lot of static defense. There's also another stasis over here in the back. MaxPax trying his absolute best to just micro against this. Good triggering right there on that stasis up north. You know what? Maybe there is just barely enough army for Team Blue. It's a messy fight. It's a bloody fight. Probes have been pulled as well from the mineral lines. But in order for this game to be even, at least the Nexus needed to go down. And considering that base is still up, I like this position here for MaxPax and for Solar a lot better. Shield battery there helping out a ton. In the meantime, we have the Oracle sneaking out to the top right-hand corner yet again. Roaches here being used as a way to tank for the Stalkers. Stalkers, though, have quite a little bit of HP of their own. They decide to back up because going up the ramp is not a smart play. Where are these Oracles gonna go? Okay, they've just now scouted the base here that Serral's trying to sneak out. Tunneling Claws coming up here for the finisher. Tunneling Claws together with Burrow. So the idea, I guess, is to try and sneak out a bunch of Roaches. As Goblin now finally starts up another base of his own. He starts up a 3rd, though, as MaxPax is already starting up a 4th. And likewise, we see the same thing happening right now at the bottom of the map for Solar. I'm a little bit concerned here for Team Basilisk. Solar and MaxPax are proceeding correctly. Not overly aggressive, not really taking any crazy chances. They're playing this out slowly. This really is what we apparently are planning on trying to come back with. 7 Roaches and a dream. It is a little difficult to see, though. Yeah, it's not easy to spot those units when they are burrowed on the ground, as we did apparently have a stasis ward yet again on those blue Stalkers. Okay, Serral's likely going to unburrow in a bunch of different locations all at the same time. Try and create as much chaos as possible all at the same moment. There we go, in the main base of the Zerg. Solar is going to start taking a bit of damage in the main base of the Protoss. Likewise, we also will see a lot of damage being done. But Solar and MaxPax apparently don't care. They're going to commit to a full-on assault on the other side of the map. Is this an overextension here? Solar is doing a good enough job, but this army has been split up a lot. Roaches are trying their best to get some work done. The ones in the main base, actually, of MaxPax have put out a lot of damage. Serral seems to be unable to really deal a lot of damage to the Zerg. Yeah, Solar doing a good job deflecting those units while simultaneously also attacking on the other side of the map. That's now the third Nexus, though, of Goblin falling. And while his supply count may have climbed all the way back up, MaxPax and Solar just have way more production. They have better upgrades. They have better everything. Beautiful gameplay. It's really nice to see how the skill level in 2v2 has been consistently rising. This is, as far as like a solid macro game goes, probably the best game of 2v2 I've ever seen. I mean, it's not the spiciest, it's not the most organized, but MaxPax and Solar played together like a team, and they managed it really well. And that means we now find ourselves on Tato's Citadel with match point right here for Solar. He's taking on another Zerg. One of the very few players, it seems, on Team Basilisk to actually get a victory. We have Basilisk Ray, better known as Reynor. I guess he ran out of characters on the Korean server, and we are just playing under the username Basilisk Ray now. Fair enough. Man, do you really want everything to be on the line in a Zerg versus Zerg? This is an extremely volatile matchup. It is very easy to accidentally lose. Let's see what we can do. I'm actually not sure if this is the Korean server. Reynor has been spending time over in Korea, but the man likes to travel. So there's a chance actually that he's back in the great country of Europe now. And that this is indeed played on the NA server. Either way, hatch gas pool here for the both of them. No surprise. It is always important, though, for ZVZ. Oh, we're going to see a little peck on the cheeks. Just a little... Oh, no. No, sorry. There's no love in war. Sometimes we see the Overlords with a full-on make-out session smack dead in the middle of the game, but not the case this time around. Yeah, it happens. Anyways. Right now, Solar has all the time in the world to do whatever he likes, right? Like, he's perfectly capable of cheesing. He really does enjoy playing the macro game in ZVZ, though. Obviously, macro game with a little asterisk right next to it, because it is Zerg versus Zerg. Technically, this is a matchup that can run very long, but it doesn't happen all too often. Zerg versus Zerg in general can just be over in a heartbeat. Like, the other matchups, likewise as well, but ZVZ is just very tricky. One mistake, and you can lose the game 30 seconds later. And mistakes can be things such as your first Overlord dying. That's actually one of the most common mistakes on the ladder. Losing your first Overlord, suddenly you're completely in the dark. Triple hatch opener from the both of them. Fair enough. And now we're going to start playing Zergling Chicken. You want to see whether or not your opponent is making Zerglings, while simultaneously making as few of your own as possible. The first big influx of Lings is usually when Link speed finishes up. So with this next set of larvae now finishing, that's when we can start seeing a big influx of Zerglings on both sides of the map. Usually you just make a few to just be able to make a few Banelings as well if your opponent decides to be super aggressive. But it all depends on how comfortable you are with greed. Yeah, so Reynor here making a batch of Lings. We see only 4 of them right now for Solar. You can tell here that the additional 4 larvae for the Korean Zerg are being spent on drone production. He's got Overlords out on the map, so he should be able to see his opponent moving out. So he's got an Overlord over here on the left, which is one of the main move-out paths. Rocks in the middle are still up, so he only really needs another spotter unit over here on the right. And he's got all of the different move-out patterns here, all of the paths that Reynor can take covered. Nice little scout here as well with the Lynx. Baneling defensively because of it. Roach Warren defensively right now too. Reynor already making a defensive Baneling nest, or a Roach Warren rather, of his own. But now that Reynor did commit to a whole bunch of Lings early on, he falls behind worker-wise pretty quickly. And in a game of drones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. You gotta try your absolute hardest to get value out of the army that you do make. Now, I always do favor the aggressor. I feel like being... Ooh, nice micro there by Reynor. I always feel like the aggressor is at a small advantage. Especially with Muta play. With Roach Ling Wars early on. With Banelings added into the mix, it's not that big of a deal. Queen going down would be pretty sweet. Solar trying to finesse the unit out of there. Not gonna happen, but... I mean, that's still a lot of Lings dying there. Lair is now about a quarter of the way done here for Solar. We don't yet have one here for Reynor at all. A little bit of a counter-attack as well with the units. Reynor still trying to pump out drones as well, though. But you're gonna fall behind pretty fast when you are playing the same units. But you do not have tech of your own. So Roach Speed in particular is one of those upgrades that can be massive. Because it effectively means that Solar, playing Roaches of his own as well, is just going to have the faster moving army. Meaning that anytime Reynor moves across the map, it is a one-way trip. For now that's not the case yet, but there's going to be like at least a full minute where Solar will have an upgrade advantage. Reynor marches all the way across the map. He knows that Roach Speed cannot possibly be done yet. So he marches just to try and scare his opponent into unit production, then backs off as soon as he reaches the perimeter of the creep. There's a lot of mind games at play. But ultimately, I'm favoring this position here for Solar just because of this right here. This is a really nice combination of upgrades. He hasn't really lost anything important other than the Queen. But he did kill a bunch of Lings for it as well. And he can push the issue quite nicely. He could also go Spire right now if he wants to. Spire is another follow-up here that Solar could be thinking of. Reynor doesn't know, so because of it, he's forced to go into an Overseer Scout of his own. Solar just making a ton of Roaches, though. I think he's going to try and do a big shove forward when he does have that upgrade advantage. So you kind of want to move out when Roach Speed is like 80% or so of the way done, just so you hit your opponent right when the upgrade is done and when it's at its absolute sharpest. Since Reynor doesn't know, he's going for an Overseer Scout. He wants to fight the Spire, but he can't really check everything. So we're already having now a Hydra Den being added on into the mix as well for a moment. He decides to cancel. Maybe he must have had a Scout. Maybe he saw the Roaches trying to go for a move out, and because of it, he figured he doesn't really need a Hydra Den. But this is always a little bit sketchy. When you go for that delayed lair, you start taking guesses. Overlord Speed started up for a moment. Reynor cancels it when he sees this massive move out here for Solar. Reynor did drone up, though, to full 3-base saturation. Solar on only 53 workers. Defender's advantage is big in this matchup, too. But Roach Speedman is not yet done here for Reynor. Okay, we apparently decide to just shove in there. A couple Banelings slipping through the cracks. Wait a second. Somehow, some way, those Banelings did make it to the mineral line. But now Roach Speed is done. It's not yet finished here for Reynor. It's only like a 10-20 second advantage, but you can see how much of a difference it makes. You just end up in a weird spot here as Reynor, where so many of those units in red just seem unstoppable. Then again, though, he does have units popping out of cocoons closer by. Solar pushing through. Bunch of drones did die, but Reynor is stabilizing slowly but surely. He has now finished up his own upgrade. And he does hold. He holds, but just barely. The longer that this fight goes on, though, the better it should be for Reynor. All coming down, of course, to the micro. Setting up a concave yet again so he can maximize the surface area. Now he decides to pounce at the opportunity. Ravager over here, good target firing by the Italian. Does end up getting rid of one of them at the very least. Couple corrosive balls here onto the Ovis. But we just see units getting rallied straight through the middle of the map. Couple Overlords as well trying to shorten the path that he needs to take. Reynor decides to fire up the +2 attack. Is this the right call, though? Solar is effectively just going for his push, and he believes that he's got an advantage that he can still deal with. Ravagers get microed backwards. The corrosive balls are not to be underestimated. Bunch of the units do indeed take a pounding. And even though this fight started off pretty poorly here for Solar, he apparently believed in the heart of the cards. The heart of the Roach. Wow. It looked like Reynor had the beginning of a comeback, but that is not quite the case. And with this victory right over here, it is Solar who seals the deal for his team. So MaxPax, Percival, and Solar take down the, well, final team that they went up against here in Team Basilisk. So Serral, Goblin, Trigger, and Reynor are apparently not quite strong enough. Weirdly enough, in this particular best-of-9 grand finals, Serral lost 4 of the games that he participated in. What? He participated in 4 games, and all of those games were losses. That's odd.